What's up, guys? Welcome into it. It's a Friday. Hey, you made it. Pat yourself on the back, man. You finally made it to the end of the week. Who is excited about that? Welcome in, guys. Getting everything up and going here. If you are on some of the live streams, then welcome aboard. Radio program starting momentarily. Happy Friday. Yeah, you can hear me text it. It's okay. What a week it's been, man. I am ready for a weekend. I'm still battling this. So I found out it's not a cold. It is a sinus infection. Oh, yes. Man, last night, even the NyQuil's not doing anything. It puts me out, but I can't breathe. So I finally had to break down last night and do some Afrin, which I've never done before. Opened me up. I was able to sleep until about 4:30 this morning. Then it came back with a vengeance.
2 minutes till broadcast.
All right, coming up on the program today. Got a lot to get to, as usual. This 1 hour program stuff, man, hindering our ability to talk about the big issues. On the program today, Alex Newman. We haven't had him on in a couple years, I believe. He's the CEO of Liberty Sentinel Media, international journalist, educator, author, consultant as well. If I remember correctly, the last time we had on Alex Newman, he was part of some libertarian organization that we were talking to at some point. And I don't remember when it was or where it was or what topic, but it'll be good to get him back on the show. We'll chat with him about the United Nations taking over education. Say, what? Are they going to be setting our education curriculum, or are they already? We'll talk about that coming up today. Also, we have some fun political things. It is a Friday. We'll talk about the presidential races a little bit. Nikki Haley, among other things.
1 minute till broadcast.
Man, it's that time already. All right, if you are on the live streams, then welcome aboard. If this is the first time you're listening, then we love you. Let me know what place you're listening from, what state on the social media, which you can find on OpsLens, on our own personal pages, on our website at Hooser Media, on OpsLens website and app as well. Doesn't really matter where you're at, but like it out, share it out, leave a comment. We'll try and keep it somewhat lighthearted and fun today, or at least offbeat.
30 seconds.
We're really good at that, I think. We're good at that. All right, let's have some fun. Hang tight.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Republicans right now, the conservatives, which unfortunately, this is what we have to do every time, even after a vote where people are sick and tired of the establishment, they're sick and tired of the squeezy, middle-of-the-road, squishy kind of Republican rhinos, and we vote conservatives in, then we have to fight tooth and nail in D.C. to actually be heard within the Republican Party.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
John Wright, it is. Welcome into the program. Hey, you finally made it to the end of the week. It's a Friday. It's a beautiful Friday. It's always a good day. If you have to work on the weekend, that doesn't mean a whole lot to you, but nonetheless, it's still a check mark that you've made it to the end of this week. So welcome aboard. Thanks for hanging out with us today, as you do every single day, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on our flagship radio station. We are all over the country, though. Multiple radio stations, TV stations, live streaming, podcasting, however you watch or listen to the show. Always great to have you along for the ride today. Your Millennial General reporting for duty like we do every single day. I am almost over this garbage. If you can still hear my voice a little bit, still a bit stuffy. Hopefully it doesn't interrupt the program too terribly much today. I am on the tail end, realizing it's not a cold, but it's a sinus infection. I woke up last night. I was exhausted, not feeling well. Went home, Mrs. Voice of Reason gave me a bowl of soup, sent me to bed right away, took some NyQuil. I was out by 7:30 last night. I woke up at 10:30, whatever it was, and I couldn't breathe. It was concrete, man. I could not breathe at all, and it was bothering me. I finally had to break down and take some Afrin, which, if you know, Afrin works great. Not supposed to take it a whole lot. I've never taken it before. Opened things up wonderfully, was able to get some good sleep, slept until about, 4:30, and then it came back with a vengeance again, not able to breathe. So we've been fighting it by this week, and I promise you, by the time we flip on the mic again on Monday, we'll be ready to rock and roll and get this garbage over with. But boy, oh boy, it's been a brutal one. I think it's just because I'm a baby and I hate getting sick. I am way too busy. I have way too much to do. I don't have time to get sick. So leave me alone. I got to get some stuff done. So that's that's where I'm at. Coming up on the program today, it's a big one as usual. Bottom of the hour, Alex Newman. For those that have listened to the program for a long stint of time, we had Alex Newman on, I want to say, about a year or two ago. It's been a while since we've chatted with him. He is the president, founder of his new organization, Liberty Sentinel Media, as we'll talk about, which I swear, I'm trying to think of what we talked with him about last time. I want to say it was on some libertarian issues. He is an international journalist, by the way, an award-winning journalist, educator, author, consultant. He's been all over the country talking about a wide array of stuff. WorldNet Daily contributor for them as well, which I believe is when we talked with him last time when he was with them. So we'll have Alex on at the bottom of the hour regarding the United Nations. Are they taking over our public education curriculum? Now, obviously, we have a lot of battles in the public education system with the critical race theory and with gender issues and with other garbage they try to teach our youth of America. So the question is, will the United Nations be taking over that, and will it just get worse? And how much control will we have in our public education at the local level compared to not even at the state level or the federal level, but now the international level with the United Nations? We'll talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. But what a week it's been in the world of politics, right? I mean, let's jump into some of these issues.
What's trending today?
We talked a lot about the balloons. We talked a lot about the train derailment yesterday. Don't need to mention some of those, but there was an interesting comment, an announcement that was made earlier this week as well, with Nikki Haley officially announcing her presidential run for 2024, which I found kind of interesting. If those that don't know, she was the U.S. ambassador to the UN under the Trump administration, and I thought her and Donald Trump got along just fine. She's defended Trump in many cases, but now she's making a run against him and kind of making some personal shots at him, which I found kind of intriguing.
We're ready to move past the stale ideas and faded names of the past. And we are more than ready for a new generation to lead us into the future. We won't win the fight for the 21st century if we keep trusting politicians from the 20th century. America is not past our prime. It's just that our politicians are past theirs.
Now, I know that she's taken a shot at Joe Biden, obviously, for being in there, and rightfully so. He hasn't been out of public office since like 1978 or whenever he actually became a U.S. senator. So, and before that, when he was in local politics as well. So I know that jab was there, but right now we're looking at a primary. She's essentially made the first primary candidate against Donald Trump, as Ron DeSantis has yet to jump in. Other names are looming out there, but no one's officially announced as well. So she's officially made the first primary race for the Republican Party in 2024. And while Donald Trump is up there in his age, what is he, 78 right now? I believe 76. I mean, he's in his upper 70s and not quite 80 yet. Joe Biden's into his 80s right now. She made the comments regarding individuals that are 75 plus, saying that we need to have mental health screenings for anyone over the age of 75, and we need some new blood and a new face in our politics, which I think a lot of people can agree. Look, I'm 34. I'm part of the millennial generation. I think a lot of my generation's looking back and saying, hey, there's not a lot of representation of our generation, which, to be honest, is maybe a good thing with how bad our generation's been corrupted. And we'll get there eventually. But right now, there's not a lot of representation in politics with our generation. And the only ones that do represent our generation right now is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which can you imagine that being the representation of our entire generation? I'm very sorry. I apologize very much, because she's not what Republicans and what my generation actually stand for. So I'm terribly sorry for what she's done for our generation, corrupting it and giving us a bad reputation. But Nikki Haley, running as a Republican, maybe somewhat conservative, not a whole lot conservative, more the mainstream Republican, at least from what I understand a little bit about her record. Obviously, we'll know more as the campaign goes on. But is the identity politics thing really going to be the main focal point in her campaign? I mean, if that's what she's going to run on, is saying, outside of the ideas and the views of what she has on issues, I know that sometimes that's not the sexiest thing to talk about on the campaign trail because it really needs to be in the presidential race, really about the hoorah celebrity rock star candidacy and the rock star status for people to be gushing over you and love you. And you don't do that by dividing people by talking about policy, because even in the Republican ranks, there's different ideas regarding Republican policy, and therefore you don't want to rock that boat. You just want to gain all of their support regardless of where you stand. Then you squabble about that stuff after you're already in office, and then half the party begins to hate you. That's kind of how politics works nowadays. But if the identity politics is going to be her platform of they're old, we need to get someone new in, I don't know that that's necessarily going to be a winning platform, as Matt Schlapp from CPAC mentioned on Newsmax just earlier today.
I guess the only reaction I have that's mildly critical is this whole, I'm not an Anglo-Saxon, and I'm not old. I'm a young woman of color and ethnic diversity. I think we are a very tolerant movement. I know we are. And I know we're a heck of a lot more tolerant than the left, which is not tolerant at all anymore. But I also think that what the Republican voters want is they want to know you're going to fight like hell against this woke mob and against socialism. They don't really care how old you are. They don't really care if you're male or female. They just want you to fight like hell. If Nikki Haley turns out to be the person that will fight like the Dickens for the country, she's got a real shot. If it's going to be just about I'm young and I'm a different kind of candidate, I just think Republicans are so exhausted of the push for diversity over competence that I think she's going to have to find a new message.
I would have to agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that going for an identity politics platform on the Republican Party is going to be an extremely unpopular one. Even if she says it's all about age, we're apparently going to go to ageism now, and how Donald Trump, Joe Biden, some of these other candidates are just way too old, and therefore we just need fresh young blood. That's cool. What's the actual idea? It's nothing against Nikki Haley here, because I think she may have some good ideas. She may be able to contribute to the presidential run a whole lot. And it kind of blows my entire theory that the reason she was jumping in was to support Donald Trump, because some of the latest polls showed Donald Trump was in the lead. And then that Ron DeSantis was in the lead. And then when Nikki Haley jumped in, it split the vote from Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, giving Trump the lead in some of those national polls. And my original theory, the first day I heard about her jumping in, was that she was going to be in there to be a saboteur against the Republican primaries and the other candidates in order to help Donald Trump in the end. But now this attack against the ageism about having a mental health test, which, by the way, if you remember, Donald Trump did take a mental test while he was in the office and passed it with flying colors. Joe Biden has not, because they didn't give him the right colored crayons. So there is that. See what we did there? See what we did there? Happy Friday. Yeah. So Joe Biden would not be able to test one. I get it. I think, honestly, we need to give a mental health screening for anybody that's in elected office. Not just the president, wouldn't you agree? I mean, House members, Senate members. You realize we have 89, 90-year-olds that are sitting there in Congress that are just doing their thing, that have been there for the last 40 years, and they don't know where they're at any longer, which gets us into our What's Trending of the day.
What's trending today?
So the big story today, obviously, is the fact that we have a Congress that is out of touch with the American people because they've been there for so long. They don't understand the grassroots. And I reference this all the time, that when Hillary Clinton was running for president and she had to take the classes in order to be relatable to her constituents, that's a serious problem, because the government is supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. Remember that phrase? And right now, we don't have that. We have a bunch of really, really old people. Again, not making fun of old people in any way, shape, or form, but we have people that have been in public service for years, and I'm talking 20, 30, 40, 50 years that they've been up there. They're completely out of touch with the common American, aren't they? Whether they're doing good stuff or not, I would say they're somewhat out of touch, unless they still live with the common folk, and they live right next to them, which a lot of them don't. They're the elites now. They have the wall around their house and their mansion. They're making the millions of dollars with kickbacks with certain legislation. And then they try to come back to the American people and say, hey, vote for me because I'm totally representing you in your best interest. Doesn't necessarily work. But I'm here for some optimism because, as you know, the latest headline shows that John Fetterman is now in the hospital after checking himself in due to severe depression. Now, that's shortly after being in the hospital just last week due to having health issues, not feeling well, and concerned about another potential stroke. And for those that don't know, the reason John Fetterman may act and talk and look a little strange is because during the campaign in the primary season, during the Senate race in Pennsylvania, he ended up having a major stroke. And now he can't even respond to people that are audibly talking to him. He has to have them written out so he can process it before actually responding. That should be a major red flag for individuals, especially voters in the state of Pennsylvania, on whether he's actually qualified and prepared to do the job. Nothing against him in that sense. I disagree with him politically. I think he's an idiot politically. But on the personal level, I feel very bad for him because I don't wish that upon anybody, even my worst enemy, to have such a stroke that your brain doesn't function at the capacity that it needs to do so. And to be honest, that's one of my biggest fears when I get older. I don't want that kind of stuff to happen, which is why I try to go on these major health kicks, because I don't want that to happen. You try to limit those potentials, and I feel terribly bad for him, and I pray for him every day so the fact that he can actually function properly. But beyond that, he was in the hospital last week for a potential stroke or concerns about health issues. Now he's in because he checked himself in now for severe depression. And he's going to be there apparently for a few weeks. Now the Democrats are praising him for checking himself in for the mental health issues and making sure he's okay. And I will piggyback on that as well and say I'm glad that you're getting the care and treatment that you need for the issue that you have. The problem is you're an elected official. You have work to be done. You are one of only 100 senators in the entire Senate that can actually get things done. And now you've checked yourself in for weeks. Do Democrats now have their own John McCain that's sabotaging the party essentially by not being there getting things done and for major votes that are coming up? On the positive side politically, Republicans have an opportunity here, which we'll get to in just a second right after this on a Friday for The Voice of Reason. Stay right here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to The Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring The Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from The Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at Hooser. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
Fighting for freedom every day. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, it is 24 minutes past the hour. Welcome back into the program. Thanks for hanging out for a Friday, spending some of your time with us here on the show. Always appreciated. We love you to death. Hearts, baby. I'm trying to appeal to the younger crowd here for a second. Hold on here. Hashtag we love you. Pound sign. I don't know. See, I'm right on that teetering. I remember when I was a kid, like computers were just starting to be a thing. Now it's like, I'm the last generation. My generation, my age group is the very last generation to grow up without computers and technology in your face the entire time. So I'm trying to appeal to both crowds here. Give me a break, will you? So we have an opportunity, and I really hope that Republicans are listening. I know you do. Even elected officials, you listen to this program. Thank you for listening, because I get your messages afterwards and your tweets and messages about some of the stuff we comment about on this program. So at the federal level, I really hope some of our senators are actually listening right now, especially Mitch McConnell. He's probably not listening to this program because he doesn't listen to conservative talk radio because he's not a conservative. But I really hope that they pay attention here for just a moment. I don't think we realize how close the votes actually are in the U.S. Senate and how we could still be promoting a decent Republican agenda coming out of the Senate as much as we are with our majority in the House of Representatives. And here's what I mean. Right now, Democrats have a majority in the Senate, 51-49, a very close, slim majority. One of those individuals being John Fetterman, who's going to be out of commission now for the next few weeks because of his severe depression. Makes you really think why he went into office as well, because he's probably just enjoying the fact that the government's going to take care of his health needs because of the things that are going on. Another story, we'll digress for that later time. But the 51-49 majority really isn't a true 51-49 majority. Really, it's 49 Republicans, 48 Democrats, and 3 independents that are caucusing primarily with Democrats. So if you break it down actually affiliated party size, Republicans have the majority by a vote over the Democrats, 49-48. We just have 3 independents with Bernie Sanders, with Angus King, and then Kyrsten Sinema, who recently switched over to the independents as well from the state of Arizona, who predominantly votes with Democrats. Not to say that she's going to be some big conservative now because she's independent, but she's left the party giving an open door and opportunity. So now with John Fetterman gone, we really have a 49-47 majority over Democrats with 3 independents, making it a 50-49 split, which means all you need is one singular vote to flip anything over to have a Republican majority and actually get some things done, which would come in handy, you would think, during a time of when we're debating debt ceilings and the debt cap on whether we're going to raise the debt ceiling or cut government spending. And you know who we could try and pawn off on that one. That could be the guy like Joe Manchin, who's a moderate Democrat and has been somewhat reasonable on some financial and budgetary issues. if we flip him while John Fetterman's out of commission right now, not to try and pry on his, mental issues and his health issues right now, but with him being out of office, guess what they did when John McCain was out of office? He's the new John McCain for the Democrat Party right now. What can we do in that situation? Oh, yeah, we can promote a Republican agenda, actually get some budgets cut, or actually get something under control, flip someone like Joe Manchin, who's, by the way, very angry at the Democrat Party right now because of the way they're implementing the Green New Deal. I mean, the infrastructure plan. I mean, the omnibus package that they passed that he was the holdup on because he was concerned about private sector businesses and jobs and the industries that were going to be overhauled with the Green New initiatives coming into the country. Win him over on some issues. There's also a major list, by the way, of Democrats, including Bob Casey from Pennsylvania, Bernie Sanders from Vermont, Dianne Feinstein from California, Debbie Stabenow from Michigan, and John Tester from Montana, all of them that are considering not running for re-election in 2024, leaving open seats for Republicans to potentially flip in the next election. And when politicians are looking at retiring or not running for re-election, they don't have to worry about their political capital. Who's to say we can't pry on one or two or three of them to potentially help flip things as well? Opportunities are endless right now with the Democrat being out of commission. Just saying.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the Voice of Reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the Voice of Reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own Voice of Reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media. Welcome to the Hooser Media Network. It's been a long time coming, and now it's growing bigger and better than we ever imagined. The Hooser Media Network is so much more than just the Voice of Reason. It's a network for you as a listener and you as a podcaster. It's a network for any kind of talk on any kind of topic, bringing podcasters together to give you a new way to think about the world, and it's any type of show from entertainment to educational. Check out all of our great programs, like Dr. Devin Verana with If They Knew.
Yeah, and it gives you tangible tools. I mean, I'm sure she just mentioned that some people might be mad at the government. I just can't imagine.
No.
I think there's a little bit of anger in the world these days, but I was listening to Wayne Dyer this morning, and he said, if you grab an orange and you squeeze it, what comes out? Juice. What kind of juice? Orange juice every time, right? It's not going to be apple juice. It's never going to be mango juice. It's always going to be orange juice. So whatever is in us is going to come out when we're squeezed. And so I'm sure you're learning that, like, taking yourself through this process continually just adds more and more power, more and more depth of compassion and joy and freedom and all those good feeling things, because you're clearing that space out.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Now take people, so for anybody listening out there that might have an object of anger, whether it's somebody or something or, objects out in the world these days, take us into some tactical, practical things that they can do. Number one, I'm sure, is to come see you, but what are some other things?
So I skipped that one on purpose when I was going through this, but the first book that changed my life, and I listened to it before I signed up for I listened to her 1 hour Zoom before I signed up for the class. She was interviewing a man who told us about a book called The Four Agreements. And so then when you get into the class, we study the book called Forgive for Good by Fred Luskin. And we went through a process by Michael Brown called The Presence Process. These are all three books. And I hate to be this honest, but let me be this honest. You can read those 3 books and know everything I'm going to teach you. But like any good class, I mean, just because I signed up for a class in college, I buy the books. You really need someone to guide you through them.
That plus tune into Spiritual Smorgasbord with Desiree and Cheyenne.
It is, and we talked about that because then, of course, other things started to happen after that. Of course, that was not my last doctor's visit by no means. However, you know, we talked about it, and I thought, you know, our ancestors were so smart. They know, like, whatever ails us, there's a cure for on this planet. We're just not smart enough to know how to use it, but our ancestors were. We need to get back to that. Modern medicine, basically what that is it is what you get from the plant, the healing benefit, just on steroids with side effects.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, modern medicine is considered sexy. It's fast resolving. It's instant gratification. But, and so like plant-based formula, the raw, natural plant-based formula is what is going to work. It's going to be great. It just takes a while. And people want that instant gratification.
Oh, yes.
So a lot of people try
It's been marketed
something.
to them that way too.
It
They're like,
has.
oh, that's the old way. It's going to take you forever. But if you just take this, you wake up tomorrow and you can have whatever you want.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
But at what cost?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
My leg is broken, but have some Oxycontin.
Yeah,
You know, it's
right.
like, dude, your leg is still severely broken. You just can't feel anything.
yeah. And it's like, so let's go to nature. Let's see.
Yeah.
You know what? There's pain relievers in nature. Marijuana is a great pain reliever.
Yes.
For one. I mean, you know, just
Mentally and physically.
Yes. Well, I mean, you know, but there's other remedies out there. And everything that ails us, there's a cure for on this planet.
This whole room smells like peppermint.
We're all getting cured
We're all
now.
getting cured right now. It's a beautiful essential oil I bought from a local, I guess you could say apothecary shelf, but I'm getting healed right now.
Yes, exactly. It is. And it's all around us. We just need to know how to look for it. And I'm sorry, but that's kind of what we were discussing. And that kind of was what started this whole journey. And what I'm very fortunate that, you know, my spouse and I are together on this. It's not just one of us having a spiritual journey. It's that we're doing this together.
Listen to those shows and so much more on our website where you can find live streaming, links to the podcast, links to social media, more content, and so much more. It's all online at HooserMedia.com.
When Reason Meets Radio. This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right it is. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason for a Friday. Radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting. Trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag. Trying to rebrand the millennial generation, one radio listener at a time on all of our great radio stations. More coming soon here as well. More information on that a little bit later. Real quickly as we shift gears here. The announcement from Nikki Haley, as we mentioned, was really about, which was a weird identity politics thing, didn't expect from a Republican candidate, really about age, though. Was that anybody over 75 needs a mental health screening and that she's the new face of the Republican Party, new generation of leaders. Totally get it. Kind of a weird thing to do when you're former boss with the Trump administration, when you were the UN ambassador. Kind of a weird thing to do when you apparently get along with them, and you not only took jabs at Biden, but you also kind of took jabs at Donald Trump as well, which I found kind of strange. But as she mentioned that, the Democrats, at least one in particular, kind of in a hotbed after making some comments on CNN. This was Don Lemon.
Talk about age makes me uncomfortable. I think it's the wrong road to go down. She says people, you know, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Whoopsies. You don't do that. I don't know if he's married or not. I'm just telling you, man. You don't do that on the week of Valentine's Day when you're like, yeah, women's in their prime in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, but she's out of her prime too. Any woman above a certain age is out of her prime. Dude. Apparently, he did not make the morning show this morning, and he did send out a tweet apologizing to the network and to everybody about that. But there you go. Trying to take a hit on Nikki Haley didn't turn out too well because you don't bring up the woman's age. Apparently, he didn't know that one. Let's get into what's trending.
What's trending today?
I want to shift gears a little bit. I think that's hilarious. Well done, buddy. Well done. And you call us the sexist and Donald Trump being the sexist. Well done. I want to shift gears a little bit here. Excited to have back on the program. It's been way too long since we've had this guy on the show, as he is the CEO of the Liberty Sentinel Media, which you can find online at libertysentinel.org. He's also senior editor for the New American Magazine as well. Excited to have back on the program Mr. Alex Newman. Alex, how are you, brother?
Doing great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on the program. It's been way too long. I saw this headline, and I had to bring you on to chat about this because this was mind-blowing to me, with education being forefront, top center for conversation, I think, really since the election a couple of years ago in Virginia, where they essentially said that parents should not have a say in their education for their children, and they just need to stop it, and how we've even been deemed as almost domestic terrorists for having a say in our public education and the curriculum for our children. Now we see arguments with critical race theory. We see arguments about the LGBTQ in identity politics issues. It seems like now, according to you and according to these headlines, we could be seeing our education curriculum not even coming from our local school boards or our state Department of Education or even the federal Department of Education, but working to be pushed up to the United Nations level on a global scale. Is that what we're dealing with here?
Yeah, it is, Andy, and this actually has been a growing problem. It's been taking place for decades. You have a relatively obscure UN agency. It's called UNESCO, the UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. And the goal has always been to turn it into kind of like a global Department of Education, a global school board, if you will. But the mechanics weren't there, right? I mean, in the United States, we had local school boards, and then states started usurping that control, and then that moved up to the federal government. Well, now, especially it was turbocharged during the Obama administration, but even before that, there were several legal instruments adopted by all the governments of the world at UN conferences where they agreed that all children need to learn from the same standards, that these standards are a common and universal responsibility, which for the UN, that's code word for it, the UN responsibility, right? It's not parents, it's not local officials, it's not legislatures, it is the UN. And at this point, they have a world core curriculum. Bill Gates went over to UNESCO headquarters in 2004, signed a deal with them to create global standards, global curricula, global teacher training programs. Then he poured billions of dollars with a B into Common Core. So this has been happening under the surface for a long time, but it really popped out into the open during the Obama administration, and it is continuing, and it's happening as we speak. So.
That is concerning. Now, what type of curriculum are they pushing? Obviously, the Common Core, which has been a main one that we've talked about for years, has been one that the federal government's pushing. Is that along the same beliefs here, or what are they trying to change in our curriculums?
Yeah, the Common Core, I think, it's often portrayed as and seen as a federalization of our educational system, but it's much more than that. If you look at some of the early advertisements that Bill Gates and his front group were buying as they were trying to market this to the American people, they actually openly and proudly declared that the Common Core would align America's educational system with international standards. And they were promoting that. They were very proud of that. I think it didn't focus group very well, so eventually they backed off of that. But they are very consciously, very deliberately in the process of building a global educational system. You have UN agencies, including multiple agencies at UNESCO, that are working to mainstream and promote social emotional learning around the world. The UNESCO has led the charge, actually, over a period of decades to get every national government to institute national testing programs because, of course, testing drives the curriculum, and then UNESCO gets involved in the testing. And so there are now multiple avenues through which the United Nations is extending its tentacles into our classrooms. And again, this is a global phenomenon. They just met a couple of years ago in Beijing for the conference on artificial intelligence in education. And it gets really, really weird the deeper you dig.
That is very strange. Where does America land on the spectrum of quality of education? We used to be at the top. Now that we've kind of implemented more of the government control and federalization of education, we've slowly dropped down around the world. But right now, I see China teaching like 10-year-olds how to build apps on their iPads, while we're talking about what gender we feel like today. So I'm a little concerned on where we rank on the global scale of education.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't know that there's a single good methodology for determining that. The most commonly used metric is called the PISA test, the PISA, and I have some real concerns about the way that test is formulated, but using that test as a basis, we are now basically at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to advanced, industrialized, developed countries. But I think the situation is actually even worse than the PISA test would reveal. If you look at, for example, every 2 years, the federal government does what they call the National Assessment of Educational Progress. According to the federal government's data, less than 1/3 of the children in our public schools are proficient in any core subject. So English, science, reading, math, writing, history, right? Less than 1/3 of these children in public schools are proficient. And proficient doesn't mean they're good at it, they're masters at it. It means they're barely eking by over the most dumbed-down standards we've ever had. So I suspect America is very rapidly moving to the bottom of the barrel, and I believe it's deliberate. So.
That's a big concern for me. We're talking with Alex Newman with Liberty Sentinel Media, which you can find online, libertysentinel.org. Let's go a little bit deeper into their curriculum. What is social emotional learning? Because to me, that sounds very progressive-esque of, 2 + 2 can equal 5 because that's the way I feel more comfortable with it being.
Yeah, social emotional learning is an incredibly significant change in the way education is done. Now, they portray it as very benign. Oh, we're just teaching kids to regulate their emotions and develop healthy relationships, and all that sounds very cute. But actually, what's happening here is much, much darker. And so I'll give you some examples of how this happens. They'll say, well, we want children to be empathetic, right? And who would want their children not to be empathetic?
Sure.
So they get parents on board like this. They get even Christian schools now, some are adopting this stuff. So, we want our kids to be empathetic. And then you need to look at how they define empathetic. For them, empathetic means you need to support open borders. You need to support, quote-unquote, gender-affirming care for children who've been brainwashed to believe they're a new gender. You need to support abortion. So they throw out a term that we all think we know what it means, and then they weaponize that to indoctrinate our children into really radical political and increasingly even spiritual values. One of the things that I actually did the first critical report on social emotional learning for the Epoch Times, and then later I wrote some pieces in the New American on this. And as I was researching, nobody had done this research. I couldn't believe it. But there's one organization in particular that's at the forefront of this. It's called CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic Social Emotional Learning, funded by Bill Gates. And on their history page, they said the idea for SEL came out of the Fetzer Institute. Well, I had never heard of the Fetzer Institute, so I looked it up. Turns out it's this New Age, occult, weird thing that the guy claims to be communicating with spirits, and they do these weird prayers modeled on the stuff that Alice Bailey was teaching. So there's some really strange, New Age, kind of cultish stuff going on with even the genesis of SEL. And unfortunately, this has been very little explored. But I think the best way to summarize it is they're taking out the focus on academics. Instead of teaching kids how to read, we're going to teach them how to be, quote-unquote, empathetic. But then empathetic means you have to believe in climate change, open borders, et cetera. It's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, everybody wants our kid to be empathetic, be emotional, be able to work through emotions. We have obviously a very large mental health issue we need to focus on here in the United States that I think needs to be forefront. But there's a line between being, caring and loving. I love somebody doesn't mean I like exactly what they're doing or I agree with them in some way, shape, or form. There's a line that's got to be drawn there, and it sounds like they're trying to push that boundary.
They are. And you don't have to spend a lot of time on their websites or reviewing their curricula to realize that this is left-wing extremism masquerading as education. And the thing is, they've gotten so masterful at psychological manipulation and indoctrination of children that this has really become a science. And I submit to parents that your children are in great danger from this. You need to be aware of what's being taught. And they'll bring home papers. They'll say, we're teaching them empathy, we're teaching them compassion, we're teaching them how to make compromise without realizing that buried right underneath that is some really, really nefarious stuff.
Interesting. Alex, we got to take a hard break here. When we come back, I want to continue this conversation and go a bit deeper. As you mentioned, where exactly they're coming with some of this and what countries are starting to implement this already, including here in the United States, if we're starting to see some of this come out as well. It's Alex Newman. You can check him out online at libertysentinel.org. You can also check out The New American at thenewamerican.com and see some of their great writings as well. When we come back, we'll wrap up the program for a Friday, get some more of this and more, get you set for the weekend right here on The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Andy Hooser here, reminding you not only can you listen to the Voice of Reason on your favorite radio station, but also check out the video of the program on TV and online. We're excited to be working with our partners over at OpsLens to bring the Voice of Reason live every day on their website at opslens.com, on the OpsLens app that you can download on any of your smartphones, or on any of the OpsLens social media. It's a great network that broadcasts multiple shows promoting truth, reason, and common sense, reaching thousands of viewers every day, all day long. Plus, while you're there, you can always watch some of the best highlights of the show during the weekends or read our latest opinion columns on topical issues of the day. Also, if you want to interact with me during the program, just leave a comment on their social media or the OpsLens app stream. You can always join the live chat rooms, or if it's easier, just email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, that's HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. This is your show, and we want to hear from you. Why? Because it's time for you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You want some more reason throughout the day? Well, now it's easier than ever to find. Here's what you do. Check out the website at HooserReason.com. There you can find past shows, links to all of our social media, special features, our monthly blogs, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to check in frequently, as we're constantly working to add more goodies that you'll really enjoy. Also, you can always subscribe and follow our social media sites for bonus content, articles that we use on the show, or maybe some additional rants. Yeah, it's all that and so much more. Check it all out at HooserReason.com. Looking for more reason? Well, now you can get even more content from the Voice of Reason through our Patreon site. It's your exclusive membership for being the ultimate Hoosier-holic. On our Patreon, you'll get additional interviews and content that we don't get to air on the radio, behind-the-scenes action from the Hooser Media Network, plus one-on-one video streams where you can catch up with me, guests of the show, and other great Voice of Reason supporters. Plus, you can also support the show by checking out our gear and swag. Find the link on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, that's HooserReason.com. Become the ultimate Hoosier-holic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. As we continue to grow as a radio and TV program, we're continuously working behind the scenes to try and bring more common sense and reason to more patriotic Americans all over the country. That's why we're super excited to be working with the OpsLens team to bring you the Voice of Reason every single day. OpsLens is a national online network bringing you incredible content all day from hosts all over the country. And each host brings their own unique experience and expertise to the current events, reaching hundreds of thousands of patriotic Americans daily. Make sure to check out their website at opslens.com. Make sure to download the OpsLens website and follow them on all of these social media sites that you like, so you can watch all their live streaming content, including ours right here with the Voice of Reason. Plus, if you want more of the Voice of Reason, check out our website online at HooserReason.com. There you can listen to the live audio feed of the show every single day. You can read our monthly blog. You can check out our satire infomercials. You can see pictures of what we're doing, upcoming schedule of events, and a heck of a lot more. On the website, you can find our list of radio and TV affiliates in your area. Find our social media links, and while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter. Over the last 2 years, your Voice of Reason newsletter has grown exponentially. It's completely free, and in it we give you your monthly motivation, upcoming civic holidays for the month, a recap from the show from last month, upcoming guests on the program, along with the latest news from our Hooser Media Network. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to the website at HooserReason.com and become the next Hoosier-holic. Finally, follow us on all of our social media sites. With the iron grip control on content from the radical left, unless you follow us, you're not going to be able to see us. It's been an ongoing battle with shadow banning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where even our own fans are having a hard time finding our content. But the battle isn't over. We'll continue to bring you the best content we can on as many platforms as possible. You can follow us with the handle at Hooser Reason. No matter what social media site you like to use, you can find us there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, Instagram, TikTok, ourfreedombook.com, Parler, and of course our website at HooserReason.com. Don't miss it while we give you a heads up on some of the events that I may be attending or speaking at, updates of behind-the-scene projects, or just something sarcastic to try and rile up the left. The battle for freedom is real, and we want to be part of that battle, as we want you to be your own voice of reason in your own community. Conservative principles happen at the grassroots level, and that's what we're here to help with. And together, you and I can fight back against this virus that's spreading across the nation that is socialist policy, trying to destroy this country. We can bring us back to some constitutional values, some individual sovereignty, and the right for you to be able to make your own choices when you deem necessary for you, your family, and your community. In a world of fake news and information overload, it's time to bring back some reason, common sense, guidance, and a little bit of wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is the Voice of Reason.
fighting for freedom every day. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Darn right, we are Reason, Common Sense, Rationale. That's what we're all about here on this program. Welcome back into it. It's a Friday. It's the Voice of Reason. Yours truly, sitting in, hanging out here for a little bit more. Go and check out, highly recommend, libertysentinel.org. Was kind of skimming through some of the articles over the break, and good stuff. Really excited to have Alex Newman on the program here, as he's the president of the Liberty Sentinel Media, libertysentinel.org. But while we were on the break, I was also going to the website of, as you mentioned, Alex, this UNESCO, the Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development, which is this new global idea for education. And I was skimming through the courses and just looking under the headline for the drop down for the courses. You have SEL, the emotional learning for schools, climate change, the digital teacher, games for learning, biodiversity and human well-being, SEL for youth, waging peace. Waging seems a little bit more of a harsh term for waging peace. Project-based learning, global citizenship, pandemics, and SEL resources for COVID-19. Some fascinating conversations right there for our youth of America, isn't it?
It really is. And I recommend parents spend a little bit of time on the website of this organization. One of the things that I did was I looked into the leadership of this thing. I looked into the founders of this thing, and I looked through some of their publications and some of the programs they're offering and promoting to schools. It is simply crazy. What you find is a collection of actual communists. I mean, these are members of communist parties, some of which have slaughtered hundreds of thousands, even millions of people. You've got pagans of different varieties. You've got numerous New Agers who claim to be communicating with spirits and things like this. And then you've got a whole collection of psychiatrists and neuroscientists. And frankly, I wouldn't trust these people to clean a toilet bowl at the school, much less to program my children with social, emotional learning and other things. This is, I think, an urgent threat that parents need to be paying attention to. And, of course, it's all funded by our tax dollars. So.
Yeah, that is a concern. So have we started implementing these things into the U.S.?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, these things have been mainstreamed and normalized. They are absolutely ubiquitous in public schools across America. They are now being implemented in private schools, and even some Christian schools are implementing this SEL stuff. In the Christian schools, they're sprinkling a Bible verse in here and there and saying, oh, it's Christian now. No, it's not. It's the same thing that it was in the public school, just with a Bible verse sprinkled on top. So parents need to be very, very aware of this. I think the danger is enormous. I've talked to teachers all across the country who've reported some of the horrors associated with this. I've talked to parents across the country. It's against our values. It's against our principles. It is very religious, right? If you listen to the people who are promoting this, they will openly tell you that they want to bring spirituality into the classroom, but they have a very different vision of spirituality than, say, a typical American evangelical Christian or a Catholic or even an Orthodox believer from Eastern Europe. What we're talking about here is New Age spirituality, and you really don't have to dig far to prove that that's the case.
Yeah, well, and that's what kind of intrigues me here is, I mean, obviously, I don't care for the communist mindset and the global citizenship, which is what they're really trying to promote here. And look, I mean, I'm open to all different types of religions. Being a Christian myself personally, I'm open to people believing whatever the hell they want to believe. I really don't care. But when it comes to the idea of pushing it through a religious aspect on a global citizenship level to go along with some of the progressive agendas, that's a big trigger warning, and I think a big red flag, I think, for a lot of individuals.
And it should be. It really should be. The public schools have no business indoctrinating our children with political ideas or even spiritual ideas, no matter where they come from, because, of course, these are funded by our taxpayer dollars. And I would just urge parents really focus on what's happening here. Go spend some time on this website for this Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Education for Peace and Sustainable Development. This is a division of UNESCO, the UN Education Agency, and you really won't have to spend a lot of time looking through this to realize it's climate change propaganda. Like you mentioned, global citizenship has really become one of the key focal points, not just of the SEL that they're pushing, but also of the World Core Curriculum. All of the programs they're pushing are designed to get our children to think of themselves as citizens of the world, right? Their first loyalty is to the United Nations, not to their country, not to their parents, not to the church. These things could be very alarming to everybody.
Very alarming indeed. It is Alex Newman. Go check him out. LibertySentinel.org is the website. If you want to check out this stuff, you can find the UNESCO, the Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Education for Peace and Sustainable Development. Very intriguing things. The direction that we're going is very scary with this globalization, the communist takeover, and we need to be aware of it very much so. Alex, great information. I love having you back on. We got to get you on more frequent than just every other year or so. We got to get you back on again soon.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you, Andy. Love you.
Hey, always a pleasure, my friend. Have a great weekend, too. That does it for us. Back at it again on Monday, ready to rock and roll for another week. Until then, be your own voice of reason. Be that catalyst for change. Go check everything out there and lead and be that beacon of light in your own community. This is The Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on the radio. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. You know, when I get off the air every day, the battle for me against limited government, censorship, and even unfactual content is far from over. That's why now I'm so happy to say that the Hooser Media Network is giving you more opportunity to catch the voice of reason along with other great shows and podcasts. It's been a long time in the works, and now you can finally enjoy more great content, services, and topical shows. We're the safe space for alternative talk, information, and ideas that the mainstream media absolutely hates. From holistic and alternative medicine, discussions on religion and spirituality, pure entertainment shows, and of course yours truly with the voice of reason. Plus, we offer numerous media services, including helping you set up your own podcast. Become your own voice of reason and bring your expertise to any fun issue or topic. For information on all of our shows, links to podcasts, each show website or social media link, or to find out about everything we do to challenge the mainstream establishment, visit our website at HooserMedia.com. Again, that's HooserMedia.com, the future of media.